Welcome everyone to the fifth Product Growth Masterclass. And on behalf of the community, I'd like to welcome Ravi. Ravi Bhushan is the founder of an early stage tech company. And, before he started this around a year back, or maybe less than that, he was with Proptiger Group, which is actually Proptiger Housing and Makaan, three different properties. He was the chief product officer as well as the chief technology officer for this Proptiger Group. Right? And just to set the context for this conversation, when we were talking about this, I think we noticed that at the start of 2017, Magic Bricks and 99 Acres, which were the two incumbents, were the largest websites in India. Right? Housing and Proptiger, that combination was actually at the fifth position at that time. Right? And actually, when I was researching about this, I found that at the start of 2017, Magic Bricks and 99 Acres were roughly 5 to 7 times larger than the combined traffic of Housing, Makaan, and Proptiger. Right? But in less than 2 years, that is, by end of September or end of 2018, the Proptiger Group had overtaken both Magic Bricks and 99 Acres, and it became the largest real estate destination in India. And more importantly, a lot of this traffic was actually organic traffic. So it was not that Housing and Proptiger, they were spending a lot of money, paid marketing money. A lot of traffic actually came from the SEO and from the organic activities that they did. How did they do it? What was the magic they did? This is what we are here to find out from Ravi Bhushan. And Ravi, welcome to the class. Welcome to the session.
Thank you very much. Yeah, thanks very much, Ajay. It's a pleasure to talk to a great product mind like you. I always love talking to you, so I'm looking forward.
Great, thank you. And I would like to start off by asking you a very intriguing question, because you were CPO as well as CTO for the Proptiger Group, which meant that you actually had to take care of three different products: Housing, Makaan, Proptiger, and not only the user experience, features, and everything, but also the three different backend platforms that they had.
Yeah.
Right? You were also the business head of Makaan, right? So there was a lot on your plate. And yet, somehow you got interested in SEO. So I'm very curious, what got you interested in SEO?
Yeah, interesting question. In fact, now when I reflect back, how I started into SEO world, that's a very interesting story actually, Ajay. It started because of an accident. And I must say it was a traffic accident caused by Panda in India. Wow. And many of the people who are listening, people who are coming from the SEO background, they must have, connected the, dots. So it's a very, very dramatic story. And, almost 6 years back, what happened is that, one fine day I woke up early in the morning. Mm-hmm. As a habit, I checked my mobile phone and found that, it is full of, so many messages. I was worried. And then when I went through it, I realized that there is some problem on because the traffic of the platform has significantly gone down overnight. My first response chamber of the brain forced me to sort of open the laptop and check what happened.
Right.
And I found nothing. Right, and I started getting the calls from founders and everybody. I reached to the office. There was like a big crowd over there. Everybody was waiting for me. I was the head of engineering. And then people were hoping me to say that, actually there was a problem on the server or there was some issue with the component, and because of which, the traffic has gone down. Right. But on the contrary, I said that, I found nothing, there is no problem on the server, right? And everybody was now more puzzled that, what's going on.
Right.
Two days after, we got the love letter from Google that, your website has been, hit by the Panda penalty. Right, and here I was, significantly puzzled in my own way, that I was putting so much of effort as a head of engineering in terms of building this beautiful platform,
right.
And all of a sudden the traffic has gone down by 70%, right? Wow. And then I realized that the situation was almost like so you have created a beautiful painting and somebody has put the painting in a dark room and locked the door, right? And that was like very very a turning point, I must say. And that was the moment I realized that it's very important to build a good platform, but at the same time it's very important to have a clear cut strategy in terms of how the traffic will come, and most importantly organic traffic, right? So I started getting into this world, and that is how my journey has started. But when I reflect back right now, I find that when I entered into the SEO world, I
Mhm.
had hardly any knowledge of SEO, right?
Yeah.
But I find that as a blessing in disguise, right?
Mhm.
There is so much of information over the internet, good, bad, ugly, all sorts of information,
Yeah.
right? SEO is a field which is evolving so very fast. A lot of old knowledge or learning which people have, they need to unlearn them. And I was there, having no knowledge at all,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then I had this whole thing that I had to start from a scratch, right? So
Hmm.
overall, I find that there the journey has started, and over a period of time, both Proptiger, Makaan, and then housing, all these platforms, I was able to experiment, various things.
Right. Right.
And in last six sort of years, I sort of spearheaded the growth for the platforms. Yeah,
So no, let's dive in actually, because it's interesting that you started because of the Google penalty,
yeah,
but yet within 2 years the Proptiger became the largest real estate destination in India, right? And with housing obviously leading the way, right? And in order to do this, obviously you would have, and your team would have run many hundreds of experiments, SEO experiments, organic growth experiments, right?
yep.
And among all those experiments that you ran, can you tell us which experiment you think was the most impactful? What really helped, lay the foundation for this, beautiful growth that you saw afterwards?
Interesting. Very interesting question. In fact, SEO is all about experimentation on various parameters, and there are so many things involved.
Mm-hmm.
If I recollect, you know, these real estate platforms and many of the platforms outside India also, I have been involved.
Mm-hmm.
So many things happen, but if you ask me just one experiment which I should quote here, which yielded into the maximum benefit or best ROI,
Yeah.
I should say that it was the site restructuring experiment. Right? When I say site restructuring,
Mm-hmm.
this is a topic which is always overlooked. Both by SEO professionals or marketing guys, as well as the product managers and the technical folks in the company.
Hmm.
I almost feel like you know. The way SEO professionals or the growth guys treat site restructuring is almost similar to the way politicians treat the issue of air pollution in India.
Hmm.
It's so very fundamental. It's so very important, right? But still, people don't care about it, and people will do a lot of fancy stuff, by reading articles here and there.
Yeah.
But ultimately, what matters, if your basics are not intact, whatever you are doing on top of it is not going to yield into a beautiful outcome.
Yeah.
So let me just give you a sense in terms of what we did, and how to I say site restructuring. It's like a
Correct.
heavy word. It's a
Yeah.
very generic term. How one should approach about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So back then we had this platform, and it was not giving so much of result. For whatever experiments we are doing, and
Mm-hmm.
we were knowing that there is some inherent problem, right? When I say site restructuring, everybody needs to understand that when Google bot comes to crawl your website, right, ultimately he has to get some semantic meaning, some sense of different portions of the website, right?
Yeah.
And the way content is spread over the website, and the ways different pages are links, right, that's a very important signal for the Google search engines, right?
Mm-hmm.
To understand the meaning of your website, which section of the website is dealing with what kind of information, right?
Yeah.
Having said that, generally what people do is that they either don't do interlinking properly, or they overdo it. What I mean to say is that in my view, and of course many of the people who are involved in the SEO world must understand that linking between two pages is nothing but a vote of trust which you are passing from one page to the other page. let
Yeah.
me let me just give a very simple example. For keep in mind that there is a small site, and assume that different pages of the site has different page scores, right?
Mm-hmm.
And for simplicity, let's assume that your home page is of having a score of 100, right? And there are let's say 10 links flowing out of that particular page, home page. So all the pages who are getting linked with the home page, they are getting a page juice of 10, each, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And imagine a given page in the website, it's getting links from different pages from the website. So sigma of sum total of all those page juices which is getting passed to that particular page is actually, in a simple terms, you can say the page score of that particular page,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
Now, what people end up doing is that when they say that the this has to rank, this has to be crawled properly, then they end up connecting each page with everything else, right? And that way they create rather than creating a structure, they end up creating a sort of a spaghetti sort of very haphazard interlinking, right? And when Googlebot comes to crawl such a site, they get confused. They don't understand that which page is more important, which page is less important, right? I know the construct which I gave just right now is sort of very simple. There are more complicated stuff involved, but just to understand everybody very clearly. So my approach is that one should go and analyze the portal or the website which they have. One should be very very miser in terms of passing the page juice, right? One should always say that how do I spend this particular page juice in an effective way, so that from a business priority point of view, from a keyword point of view, from a traffic point of view, whatever opportunities areas are there, those pages who are serving to those opportunities areas are properly linked or are the best linked from other sections of the site, right? So that's one piece. uh, you know uh, people who are attending right now, I will suggest them to basically randomly go to any website, in India, abroad, and you will find that, most of the time, the pages which are most linked with most other pages are the pages like disclaimer pages, right? About us pages, contact us pages. Essentially, when Google is coming to your website, you are giving a signal to Google that, these are the disclaimer page is the most important page on your website. So think about it, right? You may have done that, you would have done that in ignorance, right? But ultimately, that's the signaling which you are providing to Google, right? There was a time when people used to search click here, and Adobe Acrobat page used to link on as a number one result in Google. And the reason was that, all the places to download the Adobe Acrobat, right? People had given the link and written click here, there, right? So what I'm trying to say is that, these are like, small stuff, but, it's very important for everybody who wants to have a very clear meaning to be taken by the Google bots from your site to have a proper linking structure. And the second thing I must say that you should, when you are structuring your site, it's not only about, passing the link properly. It's also, the other important parameter is that, the different sections of the site should make a coherent meaning, as far as, dealing with the content is concerned. So for example, let's say, there is a section of the site which is giving a signal that, it's dealing with three different things. So you are basically diluting the intent. Let me give you an example. Let's say you are dealing with a car website, right? So you have physical silos wherein you are dealing with car. You have different brands like Maruti, Tesla, Mercedes, right? That's like your physical silo. And under those particular hub pages, you have different models of the car. And then you have another kind of pages which is like a sports car or electric vehicles, or let's say diesel engine cars, right? These are the virtual silos, right? Now imagine a situation that these are the categories, right? Imagine a situation you have linked every page with everything else, right? And you have spread the content in such a way that there is no semantic meaning coming out of different sections. On the contrary, if you create a situation wherein there is very clear sense coming out that when the bot is coming to crawl your website, it basically senses that this sections of the website is actually dealing with their sports car, right? And then it becomes really really powerful. So both creating the proper silos and interlinking of the pages is very very important. Just sharing the results with the audience. When we did this experiment ourselves, we were a little bit worried because this was a sort of relatively bigger exercise. First month after the experiment, the traffic tanked 30%, and the second month we were 350% up, right? So that kind of effect you can get, and I'm talking about not a very small sort of baseline number, right? It was some a respectable number before the experiment, but we still did it. We still took the risk because we knew that whatever experiments we are going to do on top of this not very properly interlinked and structured site is not going to result into very beautiful outcome. Hence this hygiene has to be catered first. And so in retrospection, I must say, Ajay, that this was the most important experiment which resulted into very big outcome.
Got it. And I think you're talking about two interrelated things, right? One is the site structure, as other is the information architecture. And I think you're talking about both of them should be in sync with each other. And the information architecture, one has to pay attention that it's not only syntactic but semantic also. You want to group similar things together. You want to
Yeah.
be able to structure the site so that not only a human being but also Google bot can understand that, so that it is able to then and
Yeah.
give it the right weightage.
Yeah. Ajay, it's a big topic in itself, but
Yeah,
nevertheless, if you directly tackle this and understand the importance of it,
yeah,
then I think you will be entering into a very good future as far as the SEO growth for the platform is concerned.
got it. And that's very useful because I think every even a startup which is just getting started, you can actually start incorporating some of this. This is not something that a large company does. This is every company can
Yeah,
actually start adopting and
absolutely.
benefiting from that. Right? But at the same time, I think it's interesting because SEO is obviously never a one-time activity, right? In some sense, it's a race against competitors. You have to keep improving so that you stay ahead of competitors.
Yeah,
You should end up higher than them in the search engine results. But also there is this elephant in the room, which is Google, which keeps changing the search engine algorithms every once in a while, and it causes major disruptions. Right now, because of this competition and because of this uncertainty that Google introduces, this whole industry out there, which is SEO agencies, SEO consultants, and like you're pointing out, there's so much gyan out there on the internet, right? Where people talking about on-page SEO, off-page SEO, black hat SEO, white hat SEO,
yep,
backlinks, content marketing. So much, out there. Given so many possibilities, so many starting points, so many possible experiments. Is there a scientific way of figuring out how to attack a problem? How does one get started with this? By figuring out which experiments are worth doing, which experiments are not worth doing.
yep. I I get the question, Ajay. That's one of the biggest dilemma people have, right? Most of the companies I go and talk to, the top management or the guys who are taking care of organic growth. I find two scenarios, and I will be very, sort of, straight in terms of, how do I see them, right? One is that most of the people who are directly responsible for SEO growth in the company, they always have this complaint that, technology folks or product managers are treating us, the way Cinderella used to get treated by her stepmother, right? Sort of, right? Nobody cares about us. Number one. Number two, when you see their roadmap, SEO roadmap I'm talking about, they generally end up saying that they end up creating a roadmap which is like every possible thing which they can think of, they have it in the roadmap, right? And which item do you pick as the first item, which one do you pick as the second item? That becomes like a big dilemma, right? And people say that your item never ends. We are not going to spend all the resources on you, right? So tell me how is it going to help, right? So I think having a proper ROI sense or a prioritization framework is very, very important, right? How to do it? It depends upon various things, which kind of vertical you are in, what kind of platform you have, right? Is it a transactional website, e-commerce website, or an informational website? But having said that, I'm not sort of saying that it can't be addressed, right? At a high level, I must say that take two parameters. At if you have to, let's say, what do I say? Let's say you have to come up with a formula, right? To come up with the ROI for SEO items in the SEO roadmap, right? So one thing which we have to measure that whatever experiment you are going to do, right? Be it related to a set of keywords, be it related to a feature on the platform, or be it related to completely launching a platform from scratch, right? You have to see that what kind of keyword universe or what kind of volume area you are targeting. So what's the opportunity area, number one? And then you have to multiply that with the quality of opportunity area. You may gain a lot of traffic in a given segment, but they may not be, that traffic may not be super relevant for your business, right? So you have to see that what's the volume opportunity, and then what's the quality of that particular volume, multiply them, and then divide that with two factors, which is like I can, for simplicity, I can say keyword difficulty, right? But more broader term will be, before jumping into it, try to understand that how competition is how competition is treating this particular opportunity. You may have a very high quality, high volume opportunity, but because this is already a very crowded space, most of your competition are already have gotten deep into it. It will be very difficult for you to sort of produce result immediately.
Yeah.
So track that, what is the how much is crowding from the competition side. And the
Mm-hmm.
second thing is that, or you can say keyword difficulty at if you are dealing at a keyword level, and
Mm-hmm.
then multiply that with the cost of experiment, right? So opportunity area into quality of opportunity divided by keyword difficulty multiplied by multiplied by the cost of experiment, that will give you a very high level sense. I'm simplifying it right
Yeah.
now because
Yeah.
it has to be relevant for everybody who is listening.
Yeah.
But that kind of approach, if you take and you start sorting out your items in the product roadmap, many things become very very evident, right? Then you necessarily not dealing with very tactical stuff. Sometimes you take a plunge into bigger items also. Otherwise,
Mm-hmm.
what happens 70% of the time, ACO activities are surrounded around, let's change the title, let's change the meta, let's change the
Yeah.
let's write more content, right? I
Yeah.
think that is like running in a circle, not going anywhere, right? And
Yeah.
you can only do that much in that particular area, right?
Okay.
So this kind of framework one can devise, and you can always tweak as per your business vertical. But
Yeah.
having this is very very important, and then you can clearly see that some experiments are really bad experiments, some
Mm-hmm.
experiments are really good experiments, right? And then
Mm-hmm.
you see that based on resources, where do you want to draw a line, and which
Got it.
one you want to pick.
Got it. Can you pick a couple of examples just to make it a little more concrete? Within Proptiger Housing, Makaan, what kind of experiments made the cut and what kind of got removed from
Yeah, so I can tell you, we have talked about real estate. Recently when I sort of ideating about my startup, right? I was thinking of doing some experiments around SEO, right?
Mhm.
So then I started, looking at the global opportunity which is available across different countries. What kind of opportunity? So the formula which I just said, right?
Yeah.
So I started looking at different domains and the areas wherein there is significant amount of traffic, which is like volume is super great, right?
Mhm.
Then what kind of quality of traffic is there? Is it like only is it like high CPM traffic, or is it like very low paying traffic, right?
Mhm.
And then I also started exploring the competition bit, that how crowded is the market, right? So
Mhm.
one platform which I launched, this is called pdfdoctor.com, right?
Uh-huh.
It's a very very sort of simple online tools around PDF related items, right?
Mhm.
But within let's say 6 to 8 weeks, we were able to rank on few of the keywords, global keywords, right, in multiple languages,
Mhm.
in top 3 in Google, right? And how did we do it? If I go and start fighting on the keywords which are overcrowded, it
Yeah.
would have taken me 2 to 3 years, right? So I strategized the competition, the whole opportunity in
Mhm.
different buckets, and I applied this formula, in simple terms. You can
Yeah.
say very much, a similar formula. And
Yeah.
then I said that I don't want to play on the super head keyword. I want to play on the next level keyword, right?
Mhm.
I don't want to play, and in this particular category, I want to play on a long tail keyword, right? So such kind of calculation really help you understand that what kind of platform you should launch. Number
Got it.
one, what kind of feature you should introduce on the platform, right? People who are aware can go on this kind of site, and
Mhm.
see themselves that the overall structure of the site which I talked about, and this particular thing, that how do you come up with the ROI metric of organic efforts.
Yeah.
This is one important one very recent example which I'm sharing with you, Ajay.
Correct. And I'm assuming that similar thing you must have done because both Magic Bricks and 99 Acres were, significantly older. They had invested way more in the SEO, so their domain authorities must have been much
Yeah,
higher,
absolutely.
right? So you would have done similar analysis even at PropTiger housing level to kind of figure out where to focus and how to start getting traffic towards yourself.
Yeah, so absolutely. Let me share one more example,
Mhm.
in the from that particular ecosystem.
Mhm.
So PropTiger was a business wherein the actual business was supposed to come from the project keyword traffic, right?
Mhm.
Rental was not there. General, sort of broker related or purchase related traffic was not super relevant for PropTiger, though it was very relevant for housing and Makaan. Now we
Yeah.
had this, now we had this goal in mind that we could have gained a lot of traffic on PropTiger.com otherwise, but that traffic was
Mhm.
not of a lot of sense because the quality of the conversion expectation on that, but those keywords were not much, right? So we started aligning the
Mhm.
overall strategy in such a way, and ultimately this formula worked, right? what is the volume opportunity. If I would have just gone for the volume opportunity, I would have gone for
Hmm.
every damn keyword which is available in Indian real estate, right? So that's not the way
Exactly.
one should look at it. So we realize that our relevant keyword universe is the project keyword. So let's pick that, and let's now
Hmm.
see that what kind of opportunities people have left. So first line of attack is that you pick those smart opportunities, and many of the time people miss on this point. People think that their competition has done enough. Where is my chance, right? I can guarantee you, go to any vertical. If you do a
Hmm.
detailed keyword analysis, you will always find opportunity for yourself, because it's very difficult to optimize on all the keyword opportunity which is
Yeah.
available in a given vertical, right? So the first line of attack is that you find out those keywords, and then start optimizing or start creating a structure on your site, attacking that particular gap area. And then,
Yeah.
as and when your domain authority or overall website quality improves, you will start challenging the competition on the bigger keywords, right? So that kind of thing, a strategy one can take when they are a newcomer in the industry.
Got it. Got it. Interesting. Very interesting. And you talked about PDF Doctor, and that in a relatively short time you were able to get it to rank among the top
Yeah.
three. Right? That's one of the questions that commonly comes up, that SEO takes a long time to kick in, right? The effect of the benefits of that. From your perspective, how would you look at that, and um, when can one start expecting results from the experiments that one runs?
Yeah, and I'm not sure why people think like that, but in my view, ACO is a game which you don't play against the house, right? ACO is a game which you play against others, right?
Yes, yeah, yeah.
So you don't need to be, in an absolute sense, you don't need to be the best performer, right? If all
Mhm.
your competition is 67 out of 100, you just need to be 68 and you are number one, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
what I'm trying to say is that, first people need to understand that, rather than retrospectively, just looking at your platform will not help you. You need to basically spend equal amount of time in terms of analyzing your competition and find out the opportunity area, right? For a
Mhm.
new website, for a newcomer, it's super super important. If you just go and head on collide with all the head keywords with your competition, who is, let's say, who are there in this in the industry for last x number of years,
Yeah,
you will have very tough time, and then you will end up concluding that ACO is a multi-year game, right?
yeah, yeah,
But at the same time, when you are a newcomer and you do that keyword research properly,
yeah.
and find out those, whether it's in long tail keywords or head keywords, right? If you find out those opportunities area properly, I can guarantee you, as I said earlier, that there are always opportunities area. PDF Doctor is an example which you just took,
Mhm.
Jay. I should say you that this industry is crowded with so many players for last 10 years,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
And one could have said that, Ravi, what's the fun of, it will be almost impossible to rank in this particular space. And
Yeah.
I'm not saying I'm ranking on everything, because the site was just launched a few weeks back, right? It's only a couple of months. But at the
Mhm.
same time, what I'm trying to convey by giving this example
Mhm.
is the fact that you don't need to be rank one on everything overnight. It is not possible.
Sure.
But when you become bigger and bigger, you try to grab bigger opportunity, and that is what would have happened with your competition also. Because
True.
they are at a bigger stage, they would have taken a bigger opportunity, and that is why there are a lot of mid and small opportunities which are left out for you. So you have to craft out your own plan,
Yeah.
and ride the traffic growth accordingly. Otherwise, just head on collision on super um, high volume keyword is
Yeah.
not going to help. And that generally happens, Ajay, because people don't go into the details of keyword research and competitive analysis,
Got it.
right?
This is very important and very interesting, actually, because I think everyone knows that SEO is important. I'm talking especially of the early stage startups, but hardly anyone actually spends time and effort to actually work on SEO, right? At least in the beginning, right? Because there's this worry about it will take a long time, right? And you talked about how any company can get started. But I want, maybe quickly, if you can touch upon the other aspect of it, which is, yes, you have identified the opportunity, let's say, by doing keyword analysis, competitive analysis,
Yeah.
right? But from the team point of view, from the roadmap point of view, how should at least a founder or a growth leader think about this?
My first advice here will be for the founders or the senior management team in different companies,
Mhm.
don't do over planning. Google is not going to read your plan sheet, right? So if you create so many of plan traffic planning Excel sheets, they are not going to help. Rather, spend more time in terms of creating a solid roadmap and execute them very fast. It's all about doing proper thought through experiments and doing a lot of heavy testing around them and seeing what works and what doesn't work, right? Different verticals, different keywords behave differently, right? Though Google can be one name, but they have so sophisticated algorithm for different things at different geographies, that it will be very difficult for you to decipher that what's going behind the curtain, right? So
Mhm.
my point is that I have seen many places wherein for 2 months there is a tussle going on between the senior management and the team who is taking care of the organic traffic, right? No, you should not say that there will be only 30% growth. You should mention 40%. Whatever you mention in the Excel sheet, that's not going to help you, because nobody is reading your plan sheet, right? Number one.
Yeah, yeah,
So rather than spend that bandwidth and time in terms of creating the better roadmap. Number
yeah.
two, for founders, it's very important that they create. Just saying that just aspiring that we will get a great traffic is not sufficient. You
Mhm.
have to create. Culture could be a heavy word, but you have to create right infrastructure and mindset in the company to basically achieve it. Right? When I say infrastructure around A/B testing, infrastructure around log management, because SEO, in my view, is a proactive game. It should not be played reactive way, right? So if
Yeah,
the damage is done, you are already, you created, issues for yourself.
yeah,
So try to understand that, how do I make proactive approach before Google reports you that there is a problem? How do you sense the problem yourself, right? So log
yeah.
management, A/B testing infrastructure, one of the things which has really worked, in Proptiger Housing Makaan,
Mhm.
was this particular approach of having a separate team, right, and separate roadmap. And not only that, if you just create a separate team and separate roadmap, there will always be conflict because people will have different priorities. So we created a separate microservice. So we segregated the whole SEO concern, and the
Mhm.
separation of concern was such that everything was major aspects of SEO were contained in one microservice, right? And that microservice used to take off all the technical SEO stuff, like redirection, title, meta, header, whatever, interlinking, all those just stuff, content spreading, content interlinking, all those things were done as part of the microservice. So what happened,
Mhm.
that people got empowered, people had the right infrastructure in place, and when they had to do any experiment, they were able to do it in isolation, right, without disturbing the main product roadmap.
Mhm.
As a result, what happened, that the time you are wasting fighting that my item should be on top, and when within which sprint my item will be picked, and all those things will just go, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So one important thing is that one has to create the right mindset, right, infrastructure, and evangelize is that this is very important. Many of the companies I have seen, Ajay, that we talk to the founders and they say that organic traffic is super important,
Yeah.
for better unit economics, this is the key. But then you go next level, and nobody, on day to day, nobody is dealing with the organic traffic item anymore, right? People are busy with their own stuff, right?
Yeah.
How do you expect the outcome to come when just the next level is not even worried about it, right? So what is important is that like, for example, we used to talk about SEO importance and SEO growth in our town halls, right?
Mhm.
All the senior management meetings, there used to be proper dashboard wherein people used to come and report and share that what is going in terms of SEO growth, and then ultimately rewarding the team when
Yeah.
they achieve their important milestones. You
Correct.
should reward them and promote the culture of SEO. So there are like soft and technical angles, but if you enable that system, automatically system runs in a very effective way, and then you start running your experiments very very fast, and that
Sure.
becomes very very effective.
Correct. Perfect. And I mean, just to make sure that I understood correctly, would you say that it's important that SEO, team is a separate team which has, elements of engineering people, product people, as well as a little bit of the, obviously, the SEO knowledge, right? Is that how you do it? Because sometimes the SEO team lives within the tech team, right? Within the engineering team domain. It's sometimes they don't find the right home. Sometimes it lives in the marketing team, and clearly
Yeah.
they don't understand what the technical SEO aspects are, right? So what is the right organization structure that is needed, which is best suited for SEO magic to kick in?
Yeah. So, I understand where are you coming from, Ajay.
Mhm.
My take on this will be, I am not a strong believer that it should be part of tech or marketing or product or something else.
Mhm.
You have to take all the steps which is there to remove all the roadblock to execute on SEO items very fast,
Mhm.
right? If a given organization thinks that setting up a team under the main product managers will be more effective, let's do it, right?
Mhm.
But what is more important is, are you, even if you put it under marketing or tech or product or anything else,
Yeah.
ultimately if you are not removing the roadblocks, right, if they are on a day to day basis in every sprint planning, they are going to get conflicted with the other business items, right? They will always be pushed back, right? And
Yeah.
that's the big complaint which I have found people saying that
Yeah.
that Cinderella statement was for a reason, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Correct.
People say that they say that it's important but nobody picks our item, right?
Yeah, no one cares for
I
it, right? Because no
Yeah,
one actually owns it. So that's why I
right,
was wondering what is the right way to ensure that someone owns it, right? I think it was
right.
easier for you because you were heading both product and tech, right? So in some sense, and some parts of marketing also you are involved with, so it became easier. So I'm just curious whether you
No,
have.
no, I hear you. Yeah.
Hmm.
No, so there, my point is that my main intent is to not put it under marketing or product or tech. Main intent is to remove the roadblock. Having said that,
Yeah.
what I feel is that in the earlier stage, wherein the chances of conflict or chances of having this issue
Mhm.
till the time system doesn't get matured is there. You should have a separate squad, right, to execute
Yeah.
on it. That becomes that a squad is super focused on organic traffic growth, right? They are rewarded for that. They are their performance is being measured on that, right?
Yeah.
And they have like frequent overlap or discussions or sync ups with the other marketing and product guys, right? But having a dedicated team, in my view, really helped, right?
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
I have not found any instance wherein that had created more ruckus than actually the growth.
Got it. Got it. Cool. Now this is helpful. And the next related question here is, I think a lot of time, because people have this notion that SEO takes time to kick in, they get started with paid marketing, right? And after they acquire a few customers, then they start thinking SEO. Then obviously the founders and others realize it's very important, right? But I wanted to understand from you, have you seen some challenges when a company moves from a paid marketing first orientation to organic acquisition first orientation? I guess a different way of asking that question would be, uh, what would what should one keep in mind when you move from a non-SEO company to an SEO company? Right? What are these some of the important things to keep in mind?
Yep. So that transition is not, easy. I must say, right. In my view, paid marketing side of the, side, that part of the game is more around skills and planning, right? Which is like budget planning and allocation on different platforms, and if you are able to use different paid marketing tools or platforms like Facebook and Google and many more effectively, then you
Mhm.
can do a good job there, right?
Yeah.
And the results are instant, right? Because you will do any change and you can see the result in few minutes or hours, right?
Yeah.
On the contrary, and if you talk about SEO,
Mhm.
it is more of a, it is not a skill thing,
Yeah.
it is more of a mindset.
Mhm.
And I mindset may look like a heavy word, but what I'm trying to say is that it looks a proper strategy to attack the problem, right? It requires a lot of competition study. It requires a lot of structuring the study for your own site, right? And
Mhm.
it is a thing. It is an item which requires some patience, right?
Mhm.
I'm not saying that you should wait for years, but
Mhm.
you can't expect the result to come overnight, right?
Yeah.
Like the paid marketing, right? So when you are shifting from the paid marketing side to more towards the organic side, what you have to bring into the system is
Mhm.
more of a product DNA. When I say product DNA, ultimately Google is going to reward those websites wherein they find that users are loving it, right? So
Mhm.
product efficacy is the central heart and soul if you have
Mhm.
to really do very very good in the long term as far as the organic traffic growth is concerned, right? So
Got
what I find is that that mindset of a budget and tool and efficient use of all these platforms. From that mindset, you have to change your mindset to a user driven mindset, user centric mindset, right? And that is
Mhm.
why I find that generally, I'm not talking about everybody, but generally product managers think that ACO is a different department or different sub department altogether.
Yeah.
The best result in ACO can only come when product managers, the main product managers who are responsible for the main roadmap, they
Mhm.
started thinking about the ACO items, and once they start doing it right, then you essentially build in the product. When you take care about your users, similarly you start taking care about the important items which are related to organic growth. Things become very very healthy, right?
Because you talked about user-centric mindset, right? I want to ask you that in product and in marketing world, whenever people talk about user-centric mindset, we refer to personas,
Yep.
right? And personas are, obviously very important, so that because it helps us define what kind of features should be built and so on and so forth, right? How should one look at personas from the SEO perspective?
Interesting. Being a product guy at the core,
Yeah,
I actually love this question. You know, most of the places I have seen myself that people spend a lot of time in terms of defining the real user personas, and hence and once they define the persona, they start aligning different features and different items in the roadmap accordingly, right?
yeah.
um, I simply feel that they miss a very simple and important step, right? They in their user set they don't consider Google bot as an user, right? The moment you start
Mhm.
defining one another persona, which is a Google bot user persona, right?
Mhm.
Half of your problem is already sorted out, right? And if you ask me that Ravi, what is one big takeaway which you'd like to share with all of us, right?
Mhm.
I think this will definitely be one, right? Why I'm saying so, right? Uh, think about site which is just launched, right? Initially initial days, right?
Mhm.
Which is that user which is going to be the most frequent visitor of your site? It is
Yeah.
going to be Google bot only,
Okay.
right? And then if you are not taking care of that user, what you are basically doing for yourself
Yeah.
is you are checking away a lot of referral traffic for yourself. The way
Mhm.
I see it, that when Google bot comes to crawl your site and get the information from there, if the bot finds the site very very friendly, what it is going to do is that it is going to talk to the Google ecosystem and say that rank it up, right?
Yeah.
Because this is looking cool, this is awesome in all the parameters, right?
Mhm.
And then the guy is going to actually get refer your site in a system wherein billions of people are falling in, right? It's very simple. I'm not talking about very high-fi stuff, but
Yeah.
people end up ignoring it, right? So what
Mhm.
I'm trying to say is that how many times you have found a product roadmap wherein one of the user persona is actually Google bot as a user, right? and
Correct.
and 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 that applies 100% in the way I said in the initial days of product or platform launch. But
Yeah.
when you go into the later stages, when the product has evolved, the platform has evolved, and you are in the growth journey of the startup, let's say,
Yeah.
then all these things have to blend together, right?
Correct.
So user bot is nothing in no different user than a real user, right? If
Mhm.
they are finding that the product efficacy is high quality, right, then ultimately Google will end up loving you, right? Even if you do mistakes, some mistakes here and there. But what
Mhm.
I'm trying to say is that initially it is even more important that you take care of all the issues related to crawlability, crawl
Mhm.
budget, download time, and n number of things. And don't go for the technical terms which I am using. My advice to the audience, because what I mean to say is that just be very very friendly to the Google user bot, right?
Mhm.
And once you take that as a mission, a lot of things will automatically be taken care of, right? And in the product roadmap conflict which I was talking about earlier,
Yeah.
that also gets sorted out, right?
Mhm.
So you know just do it, and you will find that a lot of internal conflict related to tool, related to items
Yeah.
in the roadmap will get sorted out.
Very interesting. Very interesting way of actually, treating Google bot as a persona and then solving for it, just like you would do a product. I think the other point you made is that at scale, then Google, from a persona becomes a channel,
Yeah.
And at that point, because it's a channel, then I think you're also referring to that it's important to move from Google specific work to
User specific.
user specific work, right? And
Yep.
therefore the metrics and other things that you use also will change accordingly. Maybe just one last request, if you can share the final remarks with the community members, whatever you want them to take away from the session.
Product efficacy is very, very important, right? Ultimately, things are not going to work in your favor as far as ranking is concerned if Google understand that this product is not, or this platform is not helping the users, right? So if you are confused at any point of time, whether this is right or wrong, keep user in mind and take a decision, right? That's one. Second is, don't SEO is not a reactive game, right? So internally and externally both. I've seen many people. There is a new article which has come on, SEMrush, or Search Engine Journal, or whatever. There are so many platforms. I can tell you that you'd show me any article on SEO, I will show you a contrary opinion article on the same thing, right? And so what I'm trying to convey is that there is a puke of information around so many topics, right? I don't know why content writers just love the SEO topic, right? And they keep on writing. What I'm trying to say is that unless you don't have a clear strategy in your mind and clear approach in your mind, if you just pick one article and think, oh, see, this particular gentleman from USA, or from this he's from Google, he's from Amazon, this gentleman has recommended this thing, we should definitely do it, this is very important, let's do it, right? Those kind of reactive things are not going to take you very, very far, right? Think about it, what is, create a roadmap, prioritize it as per your own sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's good to not know things, right? Because ultimately, if you care about users, things will get sorted out, right? So I have seen people asking very transactional question that, Ravi, see, this article has come, the guy is saying this, right? And I asked the gentleman that, has he seen your website? Has he seen your competition? Has he seen your verticals? Has he seen your keywords? Right? He has not. He's giving a general, this thing. You have to now apply that particular thing in the context of your own, platform, right? And it can't be just a straight away taken and that, this gentleman is saying, and, let's just do it. So my advice is that, don't be reactive. Think from your own angle, see what are important things, and don't over engage yourself in tactical issues, right? It's a time taking activity a little bit, but properly done, the results definitely will come.